Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome an accomplished entrepreneur from Indore, India, Mr. Jay Jain. Jay, welcome to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Jay is the co-founder of the Astute Group, and he's the president of TAI Madhya Pradesh. So, Jay, we're going to speak about entrepreneurship first, and then we'll speak about your own philosophy of balancing the three Ps, but we'll come to that. So, let me start with my first question. What was the inspiration for you to venture into entrepreneurship at such a young age, and how did your family background influence your journey?
Sure. So thank you so much for being here, and thanks for inviting me to talk about more on the entrepreneurship. So let me tell you. It has got a journey started close to 30 years ago. So at age of 14, I started my journey. So we are from family business background, and we started our journey with the cotton ginning, tiles manufacturing, construction businesses, which my father's businesses. I joined in a very, very early age. And definitely, for anything which we are starting something new, it is very important that how the family background and the family influences is very important.
Sure.
So today we are talking about, sir, three most important things, which basically all the venture capitalists or the investors look at into that. Okay, that we look at is that the bonding of the co-founders. Second, they look at it, they are coming from a really different background, so because they can really compatible to each other. And third, that is very, very important, that is the confidence of the investors, because these are the three things very important. And why being a family businesses we own it, I think that we learned it from a very, very childhood. So let me start with that. So at the age of 14, we decided very clearly that we want to be in the family businesses. We want to engage the new age businesses also. And that's the reason my brother, when he chose in 11th standard, his subject was science. And when after 2 years, he's 2 years older than me. And he asked me, okay, then to choose what? Then being a complementary, I was throughout a ranker. And sir, we deliberately go with the commerce with maths. And that's where the bonding of the co-founders and the different background makes sense. The second thing is very, very important, that at a very early age, I'm talking about close to 3 decades ago, in 1994-95, when I chose these subjects, and when we ventured into a new businesses in 2002, that time my father believed on it, that yes, we can do a cash burn businesses as well. And that's the ideology of the investors, okay, today, because they have to have a trust. And initially, father really trust us and believed on it. So my brother went to Japan. He studied engineering, and after that, in Japan he built the 4G technology. And he came to India in 2003, and that's where we started. Meanwhile, I completed my master in finance and chartered accountancy, and that's where we got a complementary approach, and we started all new age businesses. And definitely, which I'm communicating, is that this philosophy of the family background is really, really important.
Wonderful. Wonderful. So, Jay, you have focused a lot on mobile, digital, and IoT landscapes. How have you seen these areas evolve over the last few decades? And what trends do you believe will shape the future?
So thank you so much, because I think very interesting question, sir. The reason mobile, IoT, digital space is something is very, very growing it up. As I communicated, my brother was in Japan. He was working on the CDMA technology, and the data was very, very unknown in very early days. I'm talking about 2003 when we started our first venture. So when he came to India, and then we realized that data could be the new oil. And in very, very early days we got, and we built a lot of value-added services companies, built close to 7,000 games and apps, and we built for a lot of telecom operators, for the handset manufacturers. And we've seen that when you have the data, and especially when we built so many apps in different sectors, it evolved that what something is going to be evolved in the future. So today what we are talking about, the new age technologies like artificial intelligence, machine learning, big data, we say today is there, but there is these are commodity today. But Earlier in 2 decades ago, there was a small footprints were always there. So I think with this data, we could able to get this knowledge about it. And I think we built all these technologies based on the mobile, digital, and IoT. And we really could able to make it very, very successful ventures out of that.
That's it. Can you share some of the challenges you have faced while disrupting your traditional business models?
Yeah, so I think let me share you the stories around it. I think that's a really wonderful thing has happened with us. Being a serial entrepreneur, but it's very important that it's a love about with the first venture. Okay, so when we started in the mobile value-added services as a games and applications, okay, that time I was 23, my brother was 25, at a very young age. We started it, and when we met with a lot of telecom operators, handset manufacturers, they were telling, okay, doesn't sell that only the astrology, Bollywood, and the cricket sell. So if you recall those early days of Monsoon Hangama phone launched by the CDMA, okay, or the Tata Tele Services launched their first CDMA app. So because of my brother's knowledge in the CDMA and because of the complementary approach, we thought we can really disrupt it. And trust me, sir, this is an amazing story. So the people were telling astrology, Bollywood, and cricket sells, and there is only the brand sells. Either you have a Sachin Tendulkar, either you could have a celebrities like Amitabh Bachchan on board. Then only you can really make a money. We thought, why not we can make a differentiation, and that's where we introduced called D category in the entire value-added services ecosystem, which is called astrology, Bollywood, cricket, and D for devotional. And trust me, sir, we started with a very small app called Ganesh Puja. My first app investment was less than 70,000 rupees, and from tier 2 city like Indore. Okay. And we came to all telecom operators and we told that, trust me, this is a far bigger brand than your Sachin Tendulkar or Amitabh Bachchan or any movie based actors or actresses you believe in it. That has really changed the story around it. And my first app platform, which we called it for devotional app platform, my first year gross revenue was 33 crore. So 70,000 to a 33 crore journey was a mind blowing on those days. And that's where we could able to know and we become in the limelight in the whole telecom value added services. So if you see any growth today in on those days in Southeast Asia for the CDMA operators, we were the leading player and Qualcomm was one of our premium client.
Amazing.
That's why I started it. And one more story I would like to tell you because it can context with that.
Yeah.
So those days, if you recall, on 2004-5, I'm talking about, there was a stock portfolio. Okay, were very difficult to manage it, and only the stock ticker, the 90% of the Indian populations were watching on the TV. If you recall those days, there is a small ticker which goes in the bottom of the thing. We thought, why not we can make a differentiations around it? And I think we launched India's one of the first BSC portfolio tracker application. And Bombay Stock Exchange those time were not giving data to anyone. And those days Google were not existing. It was in Yahoo. Okay. And we actually showcased that we can really create the entire live portfolio tracker. So we got the first rights from Bombay Stock Exchange and we built India's first portfolio tracker application along with the Tata Tele Services. And it was a huge success. Within a month, we have a millions of downloads and the people were paying for it. So the idea is all about that. If you think about the disruptions, it is all about ideas are within nearby you. It's how you think differently.
Great response. Thank you. And what are some of the core values or principles that guide you in managing diverse teams across multiple ventures?
Okay. So that's a very, very important thing. So whenever we talk about city like Indore those days, okay, talent were not available because talent most of the time were going to Mumbai, Delhi, or the metro cities about that. But retaining those talent is very, very important. So we believe into a very, very important formula around it. And those days we were telling about that you are basically hiring the brains and you are paying just for the lifestyle of the talent. And I think that mantra really worked us very well. And that has resulted into that you have to respect the employees, you have to respect the talent. And I think that has really made our life quite different because when you are respecting the people around it, even in our culture, we adopted because Vijay had come from Japan. So even in our people culture, we make sure that everybody is respected by San. So, san basically is a Japanese word which stands for, in Indian context, it's called G. And that's something has done. Even if you have to call and invite the peon, you have to say It's a Mohan San. So the idea is all about that, okay, how you are basically creating a people culture over there. And trust me, that has really important thing, has made a differentiation. And your cost centers technically is automatically become your profit center. And I think that something has really evolved. And I will tell you the one case study along with that. After a couple of my companies, I built one of the company, and we built close to uh, more than a 500 apps for Samsung. And that was an order. It was very difficult because they were paying a very small amount around it, but like 20-30,000 for an app. And that time it was very small because it was really taking a long time. And what we did is that we asked to the team, no, how we can really make the cost center into a profit center. And we started a one training institution on those days under the brand name of Amaps Lab. And trust me, that has really evolved it. We were technically training them about Java, and that time it was the new operating system was launched by Samsung. It's called Bada. We launched those Bada apps on those platform, and this apps has been designed by the trainee peoples. So technically, for those where basically people were quoting that, okay, it is going to cost 60-70,000 rupees for an app, and here we are charging close to 25-30,000 as a kind of a training fee. And against a training fee, my trainers were basically getting educated them about that, and they delivered it. In a less than a 1.5 months, we built more than 500 apps for them, and it was one of the most successful case study in the whole ecosystem. So the idea is that if you believe in your talent, you can turn up your cost centers into a profit centers.
Well said. And how do you manage risk and uncertainty, especially when you are exploring new concepts in these rapidly evolving industries?
Okay, so I think that's the very important thing is that, and that's where I will tell you the story about the mentors, because if you have to manage your risk, so what we learned in very family businesses, okay, from your age you can see at a one angle, but mentor has already got a certain more steps or more ahead than you, and he can see far ahead than you.
Right.
So it is very important from an experience perspective and risk mitigation perspective that you must have these informations on your handy. And that's why we kept the mentors. So what we did is that even when I started my very first company in the value-added services, which I shared you a story about a Ganesh Puja also. Here was a mentor who told me, okay, you can technically should sell more than what basically Amitabh Bachchan sells or Sachin Tendulkar sells, or basically any kind of a movie based content sells. The reason is because Ganesh ji is a far bigger brand than them. Second, the most important thing about the story is that my mentor told me what you're trying to charge is that they are charging 30 rupees, 50 rupees for a one app. And those days, 2005, 2006, 50 rupees in your pocket or wallet was impossible. It was very difficult. But for a Ganesh Puja, you are going to temple every day. Why not you can pay a 1 rupee every day? And that's why it started close to a 30 rupees a subscription or a 1 rupee a per day kind of a billing those days. And that has really changed a whole story around it. So a mentor basically makes you that you are not selling your app just for 70,000, so you sell it for 7 lakhs. You can basically multiply it by basically creating a disruption in that. Second, why not put this app into the deck position, because it is every day. It is not a need of a one game just I played for a couple of days and remedy. You can't get a bored with going to temple every day. And I think that philosophy which basically the mentor has taught us, and I think that has resulted into a humongous success about which I shared with earlier, 70,000 to a 33 crore. And that's the idea has really evolved on those days. So it is very important that how you can basically know your mentors, how basically the mentors to teach you about this all fundamentals of the basics. And I think that once we see it about, so here I want to just communicate on that. Those days also I was hiring hiring a mentors also, but I was paying them. The reason was that free advice is always a nice, but technically if you want to scale it up, okay, then the professional advice actually scales, helps you to scale. So this is really matters differentiation in our cases.
Well said. And Jay, how do you approach scaling up? The biggest problem of startups is when should they start scaling up? What are your thoughts?
So, very important thing. Scaling up is very important, and it is all about a decision making, that at what time you need to scale it up. Okay, so what we realize, because now we built 14 plus ventures, so while we are building all these ventures around it, we were getting with a lot of data, and data talks a lot, so many things around it. And technically, if you analyze the data, you can know exactly what point, what kind of a concept can scale it up. And here is very, very important that how you read this data. So for that, I will tell you the stories about is that the people generally follow. So when I was we got a very, very early age of success. So on age of 23, I was meeting with a lot of IIM, IITians people, most of the CEOs of the telecom operators, handset manufacturers, value-added services companies, media companies. We travel 40 plus countries globally around it. But one most important thing which we did and made a differentiation is that I could able to interact with a lot of spiritual gurus and authors in my life. So we read close to more than thousands of books, and I read close to 100 of school of thoughts. And keeping in that mind, because the balance sheet and the numbers text are one way, but when you basically analyze the data with your ancient knowledge or the scripture, what has been taught in the Shastras, that gives a value system also. And that something reflects in our life. And that is the where basically when you analyze the data at the right point of time, along with your mentors, technically you know the sweet spot, that what time what is going to hit in the system. And I think that is the time we need to scale it up. And the second thing is what happened, my mentor taught me very, very well, that don't just think about what cost you are trying to scale it up, because in today's ecosystem, problem is that people want to raise the money, but they are not realizing what they are raising a money at a cost of 35%, 40% IRR, or the cost of capital. Okay, because that's an IRR for the funds, that's a cost of capital to you. If you are raising a cost of you are raising to trying to scale the company at a 40%, then you have to understand you have to deliver much higher than that. So if you manage your cost of capital in a proper manner, I think we can easily do it. And that's where the important thing is that you have to do is a very simple ROI formula, which we learned in the during the our CA in the CA practices, because profit is equal to revenue minus cost. And this is a very simple formula. And in the net present value or the advanced thing or the advanced technology or advanced financial terms, what we heard is all about within the same terms, because fundamental never change. And I think that really helped us. And once we realize this sweet spot along with the mentors, I think we should at that time to scale it up.
Well said. So Jay, I'm now going to move to another segment of our conversation. And this is about some of your own philosophies. And I was fascinated to read how important it is for you to balance the 3 Ps. And your 3 Ps are professional, parivar, and personal life. Tell me, what techniques or habits have helped you to achieve harmony between professional, personal, and family commitments?
Okay. So I'll tell you, because this is a very, very, very close to a fundamental. So I'll tell you the little the background about what we basically has come with this philosophy. So as I told, we met with the hundreds of spiritual gurus, more than 200 plus spiritual gurus, 100 of school of thoughts I know. And this and that, being from a Jain community, I was not knowing about one of the very fundamental principle of Jainism, which is called Anekant and Syadwat. And I think that is the philosophy has got a huge change. And that's what we built it around it. And we thought about what is Anekant and Syadwat. It's a very, very little known terms around in the whole ecosystem about it. But I will tell you, Ashutosh ji, it is going to be very important, because today what we are looking as an artificial intelligence, the entire fundamental technically is based out of Anekant and Syadwat. So I'll tell you what is Anekant is basically is kind of to know about the entire substance or anything. So reality itself is a multifold. So to know everything together is called Anekant. But being a novice, you can't know everything together today. So you have to know one by one from every angle, which is basically is called a Syadwat. And that's the fundamental I learned when I was in US. And because Qualcomm CEO asked me, okay, wait for a few days and then come up. So me and my brother visited the pilgrimages of over there, and where we realized this fundamental is good. After coming from US, for 1.5 years, we actually stop all working and just focus on this concept. to learn about it, because it was really fascinating that, okay, I know most of the school of thought I was not knowing about that. And coming from that, I read this fundamental and we prepare that. So based on this fundamental, I realized that to know yourself is very, very important. And that's where the balance of the three P's has emerged.
Okay.
So I'll tell you, the three P's stand for the your personal life, professional life, and the parivar life. But this 3P, the people generally confuse, they believe on it. Okay, today what I need to do, if there is a 24 hours, 8 hours I have to focus on personal time, or 10 hours on personal time, then balance on the professional time, and the balance in the parivar life. But that's a differentiation. It's not like that. When we read this entire concept of the scriptures, then we realize technically your personal time is 24 hours. You can't escape from it because your personal time is every time. And I hope you might have heard the word called Sakshi Bhav. So when you are in the professional life also, in the back of your mindset, you know, and you're worry about your families also, your fans' families. And at the same time, you know what in the Sakshi Bhav, you are actually observing it. While in the same case, in the parivar life, you are basically not just managing your friends and families or your wife or kids, but it is very at the same time you are knowing about yourself in Sakshi Bhav. And when it's come to your me time, which we talk about as a personal time, it's all about yourself. Then you are realizing it. So what I came across with that, if you know yourself better, you can easily manage your families. You can easily manage your friends. You can easily manage your professional friends or professional life much easier way. Because what happened, what is within you, it reflects in the society. It reflects in your family. So that's the fundamental has emerged with the three P's. And I strongly recommend to all my mentee companies, or I'm a founder's coach for many of the second generation, third generation entrepreneurs. So I generally tell them, just ensure and manage yourself, because once you manage yourself, rest things will automatically being managed.
Very well said. So Jay, I have time for two more questions. And I want to now move to your role as the president of TIE Madhya Pradesh. And as I'm sure you're aware, I'm a TIE charter member myself for many, many years.
Oh, wow.
As president of TIE Madhya Pradesh, how do you foster the startup ecosystem, and what role do you think mentorship plays in shaping the next generation of entrepreneurs?
Very nice. So, being you are a chartered member, you already know about the time. But for the TIE for the audience, I would like to tell, TIE is a beautiful organization, and I think among so many organizations about an entrepreneurship and especially fostering entrepreneurship, TIE is one of the best organizations because it's a sector agnostic. And the idea is all about, most of the organization is like a two-way communication. But TIE is basically only one way. It's a contribution giving back to the society. And that's what I love about it. Here, we are more than 4,500 chartered members, and all are really willing to contribution back to the society. As TIE is basically is focusing on 5 pillars, is a mentoring, educations, networking, investments, and incubation. And here we do. So what we do is that in the TIE as a Madhya Pradesh as a chapter, because I took a chair of the last 1 year, and it has really grown up very well, because we were only having 30 chartered members. We are right now today 56 chartered members. We were having only 10 associate members. We are now 135 associate members are there. Earlier we were doing only 25, 30 events a year. Now we are doing more than 60 years, and now we are planning more than 200 events every year. And in the TIE, there is a flagship event, is called a TIECon. So under my presidency, we capped just last month, it was on 20th and 21st September, we organized the first TIECon, which was one of the largest MPs, largest entrepreneurship conclave of investors, startups, and all. So here, the most important thing which I focus in my TIE MP to my associate members as well as my mentee companies is that focus on yourself, focus on your decision-making skills, because decision-making skills is the most important thing. And here I told you with the fundamentals we prepared on it. So on Anekant, which we spoke about it. Here we talked about, I compared with a lot of concepts around it, and we come across with the every mentee sessions every week. It's not about just a one organizations or a one event one day and you forget about it. TIE is about hand holding every day. So we are here hand holding their decision making skills. So here we approach with our own concept, which we are exploring about it with our mentee companies, is that and that's very, very important, is that there's the three fundamentals of the decision making. Think rationally. So everybody thinks rational. That's a very common people. So that's the differentiation of the entrepreneur. But when entrepreneur comes or a leader comes around it, then what they think is about cross-validate the same rational decision-making thinking to further validate with the lateral thinking. And Edward de Bono is a founder of this thought of the lateral thinking, because you thought about with an assumption. Now you are thinking the same decision and cross-validating the same decision with the non-assumptions. So you are removing assumption and you are thinking it about. And further, you are cross-validating thinking with the multiple point of view thinking. So what happened? You are actually thinking from the stakeholders of employees, stakeholders of the customers, stakeholders of the consumers, and you are thinking from every angle. And after that, you conclude with some decision making. It really evolves. So what I generally communicate to my mentee companies during the TIE, a lot of conferences, as well as my speaking sessions, is all about that decision making is something which you own about it. And once you sharpen that skill sets, trust me, you can grow much faster and you can scale this.
Well said. Jay, we've run out of time, but I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. It's incredible you started entrepreneurship when you were only 14. Thank you for talking to me about how you and your brother really brought a lot of skills from Japan. And I love the way you added how important it is to add san or ji to everyone, because that really brings out the respect for everybody. Thank you for speaking to me about all the work you're doing as a mentor for so many companies. We spoke about scaling up. We spoke about core values and principles. I love the way you talk so well about your 3 Ps, which is how important it is to balance professional, parivar, and personal life. And finally, thank you for speaking to me about your role as the president of TIE MP. Thank you again, and good luck to you.
Sure. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. And it's really my pleasure to be here.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.